All right. Preparing live streaming.
Ooh, are we live yet? Are we on? Here we go. I can't see us on YouTube yet. It's making me really doubt our existence here. But
are we live yet? Hello?
Can't see us on YouTube yet. It's making me really doubt our existence.
Oh. Okay.
Yep.
Who had their YouTube unmuted?
Somebody did. Well done, Shay.
Nice one.
We're gonna talk infinity sound loops in a second because that's one of the things that's really annoying about hybrid work. Well done there. Welcome everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to 9 out of 10 testers talk work from home, the good, the bad, the ugly. Basically, we're going to be discussing, since we had to work from home mandatorily to now doing it voluntarily. What changes have we made that we'd like to keep? What changes have we made that we really like to jettison into the next back of beyond? I'm sure there'll be more of the latter than of the former. I'll ask everyone to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Hannah. Hannah, if you would also mention where you are now and when the last time you were at the other place. So if you're in the office, when were you at home? Or if you're at home, when were you last in the office? Go ahead.
Yes. My name is Hannah Schlander and I work as a quality catalyst at Devoteam Creative Tech. However, currently on maternity leave, so it was quite a while since I was in the office. Or actually, I went to visit 2 weeks ago, so it wasn't that long ago. But before that was before summer. So
Nice.
I'm at home.
Well done. Shay, how about you?
Hey everyone, I'm Shay and I am a Senior Quality Engineering Manager, it just rolls off the tongue, at EasyJet. And when was I last in the office? It was actually last week because we go in once a week. So yeah, it's nice and easy and relaxed. And I sat at a nice hot desk.
At a hot desk, well done.
We
All right, I'm going to talk
talking
about those in a
hot
second
desking.
as well.
Oh boy, yes we will.
Chris, introduce yourself.
I am Chris Armstrong. I'm a program director at Qualitest, and I have only been to my office once, but I have been to the client's office as recently as last week.
Oh, yeah.
But that wasn't really hot desking. That was just being in all of the places.
That's a third option, isn't it? To be client's office or home office. That's a good one. Hi, everyone. My name is Sanne Visser. I'm your host today. I work at Capgemini as an agile quality coach or a test manager, whichever the client needs me to be at that moment. And the last time I was at the home office, indeed, was on Thursday. And at the client's office was more than 2 weeks ago. But that's because I avoided a work from office day in that period somewhere there. So there was that.
Avoided it. Yes. Can't hear. No, la 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 la.
Yep. It's like this is something I do, and then of course don't tell anyone, which is why I'm telling it to all the internet. I sometimes plan meetings I absolutely have to be at the other place, so I don't have to go to maybe one that's further away or one that I'm not in the mood for. And it's the same thing with at-home things, like doing this webcast. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't come into the office today. I need my good setup with my mic and camera to do this webinar. So sorry, but it's very much on purpose. Anyone do this?
Oh yeah, curating your meeting calendar around sort of when you have to be in the office is it can be quite fun. Can also be a bit stressful though. You know, if you sort of get one wrong, you're like, okay, I was meant to be in the office. Sorry, dude, you're sat in the office probably with only 10 people right now, and I'm here at home because I cocked it up. But yeah, I definitely do curate sort of meetings around that, or the sort of like, oh, you know, sorry about that. I just have a thing over here, so you will can we meet Thursday maybe?
Yeah. It's kind of, I like the word curation, but it is also sometimes just, it's bloody inconvenient when there's just 3 meetings and they're in 3 places and actually all you really want to do is work from home.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess with being a consultant, there's that issue as well. As you said, you've got effectively 3 places of work, don't you?
Yeah, this is the other side of it that drove me nuts. And I know it's a small thing, but it was significant enough that I started this curation. I absolutely loathe having to pack and repack everything every time, because you get home, you put the laptop in the stand and everything's all set up. And then the very next day you have to pack everything into the bag again. And then you have to set up on one of these open space desks that doesn't really have any of the stuff you need, or it has like monitors you don't like, and I don't know. And then you have to repack that bag again.
I spoke about this when I did my talk on your Error 404, context not found, your favorite talks, Anna. And one of those things is about finding that place that you can work that feels like home. It doesn't have to be at home, but you have to be comfortable in your working environment. And to your point, having to constantly unset things, put them down, set yourself back up again, and to feel comfortable in the environment which you're working, to know that you can be actually effective in your workplace, can be really, really unstabilizing, especially if there's no particular routine to what you're doing. Because I'm very comfortable working in the home space as long as that's the right thing to do. But it's when I'm at a client's office specifically, if I haven't got a good use for myself, very often I can find myself sat in a refectory, like, canteen, just sat there and just trying to do a bit of work. But I know I can't be particularly effective because I can't get my notebook out and I can't do these things. And the noise around me will be quite disturbing if I'm on a call. And that can be really unsettling and destabilizing, even though being on the client side is really important. Making use of that time, it's hard.
It is very hard. Pia threw something into the chat here, which I think is interesting. Is that home space ever the open space desk policy spaces for anyone?
Open space desks. We have that at EasyJet. Like, it's only sort of hot desks. It's only open spaces. Although, to be fair, that there are areas that a lot of us sort of found a little sort of corner where we sort of inhabit that is out far from the madding crowd kind of thing. But in a big office where it's all open spaces, it's all hot desks, you spend half your time like texting people going, "Oh, where are you?" "Oh, I'm on the third floor." You go up to the third floor and go, "Whereabouts on the third floor?" "Oh, sorry, I'm just down meeting someone on the second floor." "Okay, go down to the second floor." "Hey, where are you?" "Oh, no, I'm on the first floor. I'm just getting coffee. Do you want something?" "Yeah, okay." You go in there and like, seriously, where the frickin' hell are you? And that's pretty much the whole day in some of these offices. And it's like, because nobody has a set area anymore in where we are, it's like we do have people who go third, second, first floor, over fish bowl over there. And it's like, maybe a little bit of joined up thinking is needed by our department, and that makes it easier, where you sort of all in one place and you go, "Hey, dude, I can see you over there. You're not on the third floor." But
I've met people at the end of the day in the elevator. I was like, "You were here the whole time? We had calls." It's like, why did you do them on Teams if you were in the freaking building?
But can I offer a counter to that though?
Yeah.
The bit that I actually enjoy about that, weirdly, I know it's frustrating, and by all means we can sort these things out with communication. But what I like about that is that I'm getting up and I'm moving around and I'm able to do stuff in between meetings, because too often if I'm at home at my desk, I finish a call, I shut it down, and I start another one up immediately, and it's just call down, call up. And it's relentless. Whereas if I'm in an office, I've got that time to go between the two venues to see people and see what's around me and stuff. And you could say that's a waste of time, but actually, if you remember the whole like focused and diffuse mode sort of thing, I might need a bit of time for my brain to process finishing that last call and starting the new one. And if I can't do that with a Teams call going down and up all the time, then I quite appreciate having the ability to physically move between spaces.
That has been one of the things that has been probably, I'd say, one of the kind of the worst parts of sort of during pandemic, post-pandemic world, is if you are working from home, it's that the meetings are like that, one after the other, as you said, Chris, rather than I used to curate my thing saying, "Look, I can't," on my calendar going, "I can't even get to your meeting. I'm finishing at midday here. Can't even get to a meeting by midday. So we're going to have to do it another time." Whereas now it's just like, "Yeah, sure, slam it. Yeah, sure, slam it. Yeah, sure, slam it." And you get to the end of the day and you're like, I'm
brain fried.
Brain fried.
Yeah.
Fried.
Yeah.
Go, Hannah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've always find it nice though to work from home if I do have meetings back to back, because
Oh.
sitting in a room having meetings feels absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
Which just has happened. And yeah, to be fair, I use my pregnancy as an excuse not to be at the office as much at the end of it.
That is totally
because
fair.
I honestly could not get comfortable anywhere. And with that said, I don't use hot desks at work. I use a chair. That's like I used to be really with my setup, but after no, it's so much more comfortable to sit in the chair. So everyone's like, okay, that's just Hannah's chair. No one else sits in there. And it's fine.
Yeah, well, the other thing that I've noticed is that because a lot of the meetings, if they're either online or they're physical, both is fine. But what gets really weird is when it's hybrid. A few people are calling in and some people are in the room. And then to go to transitions first, there's the expectation for the people online, like 1 o'clock on the dot, the meeting starts and they're in the call, because that online is the polite thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you're at the office or the client's office, 12 to 1 is usually you being out to lunch. So you might be there a little bit later. And even if you're not, if you just come from another meeting, you kind of need like a 5-minute buffer to at least not just get in the room, but get all the other like microphones and stuff set up. And then people immediately are in the chat, like, is this meeting still on? Like, are we starting? I'm like, for fuck's sake, it's 1:02. Give me a freaking minute.
You are speaking a lot about technology and stuff, though. And I do find that if we are to be working from home all the time, or at least a large chunk of our time, then we should be allowed to have the tech that helps us do those things. Too often, folks haven't got mics that work very well or headphones that work very well. And while I completely appreciate that we can't always control the space in which we're working if we're working from home, our employers should be able to provide us with something that means that when we join these calls, people can hear us and they don't have these issues. And the same goes for those meetings that take place where a lot of people are in a meeting and people are dialing in. If the mic setup in those rooms is terrible, you join as a remote attendee, you can't hear when there's 2 or 3 people talking across each other. And often the facilitator isn't able to sort of manage people speaking across each other. It's incredibly difficult to be a participant in those things.
Yeah, tech is really important in this. And the number of people that are still using pretty dodgy mics and speakers, and even with like employer provided ones that are fairly decent, choose not to use them. I'm like, oh God, for fuck's sake, please, for our sanity, you get yourself mic'd up properly. And I'm not saying buy the most expensive one, but like these little things, like these little sound pods.
Yeah, is great. Yeah,
they have the multi-directional microphones, which really we have an extra guest today. Occasionally he'll just be bouncing around with us. Advantages of working from home.
It's the chairwoman of 9 out of 10 testers.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Gonna have her up a little bit in between because she was not happy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I think tech is really important, but it's also like, how many complaints do we need to give about your sound before you just buy a fucking microphone? I mean, some people are so stubborn about it and they just like, no, I want to use my speaker of my laptop that does absolutely nothing for sound.
And then you got your loop back as well, which you
we come back to our loops, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anyone want to explain what an infinity sound loop is? I'm sure we all know it.
Yeah. That's it. Hang on. Let me quit. I'll come back to you. Seriously, you've had a year to sort this out and you can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's also, again, it's software honestly being a UX nightmare, because what you want to do is join the call so people at home can see your face on camera, but you want to mute the speaker. And it's not very easy to separately control those 3 things: the camera, the microphone, and the speaker. And almost all web calling software makes that really more complicated than it needs to be. Because if you just mute yourself, you mute the mic as well. And yeah, it's a nightmare. Tapping pens.
I'm going to say one thing that, so we use Microsoft Teams at work, and that's one thing that is good, because before you join, you can switch everything off that you need to, and then hit join. And once you've done that, you always join in that way, with the mic off and everything. I mean, that means you get the 90% of people going.
And then we all say our favorite sentence, Shay, I think you're on mute. I mean, how many times a day do we still say that?
Say all the time.
Too many.
I have got experience with Microsoft Teams specifically. Other tools are available, but on that particular tool where I've just left a call and then joined another one, and somehow no longer is it working. Yeah. Even though the configuration hasn't changed. And I'm sure it happens with other tools, but it's happened 2 or 3 times in the last fortnight for me. And it is incredibly frustrating because people join a call and go, oh, it's your problem because I was just on a call.
Yeah, but can we also just agree, like, if it does happen to you and you have forgotten to toggle the mute button, can we agree not to come in? Sorry, I was on mute there. We know. Like, you do not need to tell us or apologize.
We're the ones who told you. Seriously, we kind of know this. We're in the same meeting, yeah.
Or some variant of, I couldn't find the button for a second. Yeah, we figured that was the cause. We didn't think some other paradigitation problem suddenly occurred with your fingers.
Yeah. Oh, look, my arm dropped off all of a sudden. Sorry about that.
Oh, dear.
Good grief.
I want to throw another one in that I'm thoroughly sick of. Is everyone able to see my screen?
It's an important one, though, because some people got terrible network.
I get you. I agree. It just sucks. But the worst I think of that is, like, can you see my screen? And nobody says anything.
Oh yeah, that really makes you doubt it. I think it's useful to formulate it the opposite way. I am now sharing my screen. I'm going to start my presentation. If you're not seeing anything, could you let me know?
I think a lot of these things can be resolved with good communication. The same comes with, like, who can speak when someone else is speaking. Like, you can utilize these beautiful tools which have a little hands up bit or a thumbs up bit, or you can have the chat. And sometimes people are so in the flow with things, they're not paying attention to the screen. When I was in a hybrid meeting the other week, nobody was looking at the screen because they were having a conversation. And there was someone who had their hands up, and I had to get a message from somebody. This is on me. I was bad, and somebody had to send a message to me to say, "Oh, so and so's got their hands up in the meeting." That's great, and I think if you're facilitating, it really helps to have set the stall for what the rules are going to be for the session. Like, put your hands up, let people know these things, use the chat or pipe up and sort of read the room for how that's going to work. Because otherwise, if it's a free for all and people don't know, sometimes people just won't speak unless spoken to. They'll just be on mute and
the whole time,
switch off.
So how many of you have, because I think this is a brilliant suggestion, Chris, and I think we should do it way more, where you just generally agree ahead of time how you're going to turn take and how you're going to work either in hybrid meetings, or agree that some meetings you don't join if it's really physical only. Just have that discussion, like, what's our sort of way of working together going to be, and really normalize that even within a company or within a project at least. Do you have these agreements or turn taking styles?
Not really, but it would be a good idea to have.
Yeah.
Whoever shouts the loudest. No.
Well, that's one thing I found on Zoom calls when it's the hybrid thing, is anybody in the room, when you start talking, they shut up. That's great. You want to get a word in edgeways, you don't have to go. You just start talking, everybody shuts up. So there's that. It's a bit of a bully way to do it, but
that's not very turn-taking kind of thing.
No. Although I get my turn first, so it's all about me anyway.
Yeah, get your 2 cents in first. That way you win the argument.
You hate people just chatting over the top of you. I know we do it when we got something to say on these calls, but typically we're quite respectful and we know how we're going to be operating. But sometimes people just railroad a conversation, and that can be really difficult to come back from.
Well, you do have the option in a lot of tools, which I found really destructive, but very fun if you're annoyed with someone. You just mute them
Sometimes there's no power though, right?
mid-speech.
Oh my god! You want to see someone lose their shit? Mute them for mid meeting.
I did a little flub with that recently. We're in an all hands, so roughly 400 people, and somebody had forgot to mute their mic, and I wanted to mute them individually so that the presentation could continue, but I muted for all. So I caused more mayhem with my action than I actually helped.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that was well intentioned, but badly executed.
yeah.
All right. Something I like and I just find generally funny. A lot of hand gestures have come back. A lot of these non-verbal cues. Like, I love that we brought back the thumb and pinky. Like, I'm on a call. I can't talk to you right. Yeah, I'm like, give me 5. Like, we've gotten so much more of these hand signals because people are on their laptops in the office and want to just signal to the people around them. Like, no, I've not just got my headphones on for music. I'm on a call.
Yeah, that's the people who sort of walk in and sort of come past you and go,
yeah. Like, are you? It's like this nearly disappeared entirely with all the cell phones that came up, and now it's come completely back into fashion.
It should be more like that, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be more like that, but that doesn't work.
You get it when you get it. So go on, Hannah.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes you just put up your phone like pointing to that as well.
But I get this with
You do this?
Yeah, sometimes if I'm point.
I get my children come into the room sometimes, and they're just like, and they put their head right over because the door is just in front of me to where they come in, and they might be looking over. But my kids are very comfortable now coming onto camera, and they will come around and be like, "Hello," no matter what I do. And sometimes it's a bit like,
death stare, yeah. So Soren said use the death stare. Yeah,
but if the camera's on, then people can see my death stare.
Yeah. My kids, when they come home, they come through behind me, and I'm like, guys, I'm on a call, so just stay upstairs for a minute, and I'll be 10 minutes. Next thing I know, my son just walks. Oh yeah, sorry, I just remembered that I have to get something. It's like, dude, seriously, 10 minutes. That's all you need. 10 freaking minutes. Why choose that time? Oh, I just really needed a drink. Can I have some sweets, Dad? I'm on a fucking call.
We had to help a colleague's daughter with her math homework once during a meeting, but that was.
There you go. There's a sort of like a plus point of this, communal helps,
Yeah, it's the good things with working from home, to be honest.
Oh yeah, and another like absolute staple, the doorbell rings in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a. Oh yeah, sorry, somebody's at the door. I just. Then you come back and you go, yeah, sorry. So what were you saying? I wasn't listening.
And it's never ever ignored. It's like, if that doorbell goes, that person's going to cut out of the call to go open that door. It's like it's such an urgent interruption for some reason. Whereas like, they're not going to put your package back to the factory if you just finish your meeting first. But I truly understand why people do it. It's just it's a weird one during the working day. I think we can all agree.
Oh mate, it's killer.
All right. I want to see some more things that we hear a lot. How about hang on, let me just switch whatever hardware again is relevant.
Or about oh no, we can see your WhatsApp chat. Are we supposed to do that?
Yeah. The one I also find quite sort of like adorable because it's usually slightly, well, not incompetent, but less efficient people when they're presenting their screen and they share it full screen mode. And they will then quite helplessly say, oh, I'm sharing my screen now, so I can't see any of you or anything else on my laptop anymore because the presentation's gone full screen in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm always
Just share the window.
like, oh, bless.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could solve this problem so easily.
Yeah. It's just, well, the the whole WhatsApp thing. You see the list. Who I'm going to kill. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong screen. Hang on, let me try and switch screens.
Yeah, and of course, the whole thing when everyone does share the full screen, especially when they share their full browser, you quickly take a look at every single bookmark they've got in their bookmark bar just to see what they use.
I'm triggered by people having not updated their Chrome instances and showing me 10,000 tabs open.
What? That's triggered?
Like so small. Like I can't handle it because I look at it and go, I can't process all that information. I don't want to see it. You can have all those things open on your things, but I don't want to see it. Update your instance, please.
I saw. So yeah, we had that once. So good friend of the show and also my boss Simon Pryor. I've never seen more Chrome tabs open in my life. I've literally never seen.
You should see my laptop.
I don't want to.
Oh no, are you one of those? Have you updated your Chrome instance, Hannah? Because Chris is already having stressed out feelings about it.
I mean, I group my tabs, to be honest, so I can tab them down. So, but I've also put so that it never shuts down the tabs because I get so frustrated when it's closing them. So even if I get updates, it's just right back at it.
So you've actually got like 45 groups. And each one has 25 in, and so you've actually got exponential number of tabs on than you normally would have, isn't that?
Yeah, it can be a bit. Then when people are like, "Oh, you have so many tabs," I'm like, "I'm just going to close the groups," and it doesn't look that much.
Oh, Søren's writing that if Simon can beat my 140 plus tabs, I'll be impressed.
Don't encourage him, please, Søren. It's not fun.
It's not healthy.
I'll try and get Simon to send me a picture, Søren, and I'll send it to you. It is rather triggering.
All right, so that's a whole bunch of stuff that is triggering or we find rant worthy. How about the stuff we really do actually like?
Oh yeah, that's a lot. I mean, look, you know, I'm a parent. I got kids. I don't have to commute 2 hours each day, or 3 hours each day, or whatever it is. Those times are spent with my kids. That's hands down number one. Hands down number one.
Yeah,
and,
I really like having. Well, I have the dog at home, so then like just going for a walk in the middle of the day, it does wonders for like in between the meetings. You're like, oh, fresh air. Really helps.
Yeah, taking a call if I don't need to have my screen on, taking a call on a walk is fantastic because I can still be totally engaged with it on there, but actually just get some of that fresh air stuff to what you were saying, Hannah. It's really good. I've quite enjoyed doing that on one-to-ones and things like that. That's been a nice way to sort of get out and about, and it also helped me discover where has phone signal and where doesn't in my village.
That's good,
so you've mapped it out. That's useful.
Yeah.
If you made the data publicly available.
You just adapt your walks to where you can get signal.
Oh yeah.
It's really weird walks.
Yeah. And I think the invisible side of it, I think, is for people that genuinely like never did thrive in office settings, having it be such an accepted alternative right now, like of all sorts of neuro-spicy, I think is the term that you also like to use, is very useful, that there's no standard anymore, that you always have to be in the office and that you can have this space where you do work well, be it a home or a third place that you're comfortable with. I think that has really changed the job market as well.
I think so. There is a concern that we're experiencing death by 1,000 cuts by some of the big organizations calling for people to come back in and making it mandatory. That worries me.
I had that conversation with my dad actually, because he's kind of old school and kind of can't really understand why you would possibly work from home and how you can even be productive. He's a man that's never worked in an office as we know it, an open office. So I gave him a really brief suggestion of what my day might look like if I was in an open office all day. And I said, imagine you're in a room with 200 people. There's no walls, there's no soundproofing, you're in a tight space, it's not your own kit, and there's noise and distractions and bright lights above your head, and you need to concentrate on your screen and do some writing and things like this. There's a chap next to you who's on a call and he can't quite hear the people, so he's raising his voice, and there's some people doing some sort of weird session with post-it notes in front of your face, and you're expected to be productive in that environment. Do you think you could be if you had to be writing or listening or doing something that's really focused in that space? And he goes, I hadn't thought about it like that. And I think if you haven't ever had to experience that, it can be quite hard to understand why working from home can be beneficial. I would say that it's on the flip side, there's really good reasons to be with people, and it can be incredibly lonely to work from home at an extended period of time. I think we all at different times made it onto the old testers hangout to keep ourselves sane with other human beings, which I was missing that interactivity with people, even if they weren't direct colleagues. It was really, really important.
So if we think about it's such a big plus, is it now for any of you an absolute must-have if you were looking at job selection? Because that, I think, is another major shift that we've seen.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, working from home is really good.
Again, you go back to the parenting thing. I mean, there are times when I don't want to have to parent, and hiding in an office would be a nice thing, but for the most part, it's a deal breaker for me. And by deal breaker, I mean if I think anything more than 2 days a week having to go into the office for me, and 1 day a week is ideal, with the flexibility to flex around that in my life. Anything that's not that is pretty much a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of it in terms of, like, if a company offered, well, you can work from home 1 day, 4 days a week, but your salary will be this, but we want you in 5 days a week. What would I have to have as a difference in salary from my current one?
Is there a number for that? Is there even a number for that? Because I'm not sure. Every
person has their price.
True, but
I reckon it would be my salary plus about £30,000, and that's childcare. That covers childcare, travel, mental anguish, and the golden handshake, and it has to stay that way. It has to be whatever my role is plus about £30,000, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that's finger in the air. I don't know if somebody came down to offer me that. I don't know if I'd take it, but
I think for so many people, it's even higher, that number. Certainly, Stephen said add an extra zero.
It's a context thing, though, right? Like I've obviously done some interviewing recently, and a lot of those questions of people are, how do you feel about coming into the office? And I say, well, look, if that time is useful and I feel like I'm not wasting my time, then sure, I don't want to be getting paid less money or be out of pocket on these things, but like the thing that frustrates me more is when it's just a box checking exercise and it doesn't achieve anything, because if I feel my time's being wasted, that's even worse than being out of pocket in some circumstances. I obviously don't want to be out of pocket, but I think that's a conversation thing you have to say and go, as long as it's like a time that I appreciate and I know it's coming, so I can plan those other bits of my life around that, then it's a lot easier. Whereas if it was just, you're coming to the office tomorrow, or and those sorts of things, because it's very, very different. And in the UK, the train prices the day before you want to travel somewhere, especially if it includes London, is astronomical.
Yeah, there's that too. There's one thing that I do miss, though, from like the pre-corona days, when being in the office 5 days a week was much more general, because there was a sort of tradition with the consultancy firms that you'd be client side for 4 and you'd be home office on the 5th. Mm-hmm. And that was such a regular thing that the Fridays were a really fun time, like you said, a useful moment, Chris, to be and gather around the office. And that's the one thing that I would say I honestly really miss, because everyone is now much more on their own schedule and the hybrid work days for customers are more varied. There's no one moment anymore when you can expect to find most of your buddies from your own department. It's spread out over the entire week. And I used to really dig those moments when you were pretty sure you would run into old mates, old team members that you'd worked previous projects with. Now I can honestly say about half the population I haven't seen in a year or two. And it's kind of sad because I always enjoyed hanging out with them.
I miss those
I
days
could
too.
call them, but it's like at some point you don't have that many touch points anymore to just randomly do that. So I miss those a lot. And that's more along the lines of traditions. And I was really hopeful we'd get new traditions like this, where at least maybe once a month or once a quarter, we'd have moments like that. But they've turned into being just as much optional and voluntary, and people choosing to work from home or work from client office, even when we organize things like that. So yeah, I miss that a lot, honestly.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and those informal catch-ups are you know, they are uplifting. I was thinking also, like, when you were talking there about things like socializing, you know, there's a lot less what do you call it, spontaneous socializing. Hey, let's go for one after work or whatever. It's like, oh, I'll be in London, you know, when are you in London next? I hadn't planned on being in London for the foreseeable future. Next Thursday. How's next Thursday? Right, okay, yeah, let's do next. And it's like, okay, now I have to figure it out. But you've got to be a lot more sort of formal with that. And I prefer the spontaneity of it, but
And the other side of that same coin is, even if you are in the space and you are having one of those days, all your work is on a Teams call. Like, so even if you arrange to be there and you're physically at the space, likely at least half your workday is taking place on a call behind your laptop. And that's the other frustrating thing. It used to be very much so that as long as you were in a different space, you were doing different meetings. But now that's completely gone. And I think that is also why some of that flexibility, ad hoc kind of, oh, I'll have a coffee with you because I'm here now and let's do it. It's like, no, I can't have a coffee because in 10 minutes I have to log in again and, you know, do another bloody refinement. So I even when I am there, the spontaneity to just be like, oh, no, let's sit for half an hour and have a chat is kind of gone.
I think I just had an idea of one. Fortunately, it's never happened to me, but it's one of the worst things that has come out of this whole work from home thing is the tracking, and you know, I've said it before in other things. It's instant messaging. The message goes. It's not instant answering. There's a difference between those words. And those two things. Any company that says, oh yeah, you know, we're going to put a tracking software on your mouse or something like that, they can fuck right off. Basically, they can go and they can do one really badly.
It's built into a lot of the systems we're working with right now, isn't it? Like, even if you don't use it, it's still there. And it's always sketchy to me when there is data, but the company promises not to look at it. I'm like, I'm not sure I trust you that much.
But you know, it's actually, you know, some of these companies are putting actual tracking software on. You know, and you can anecdotally tell. You know, how often does Shay's computer go into sleep mode? It does it every blah 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 blah. That means he's only at his desk XYZ amount of times. Well, probably not, because you know, I still work a lot on paper. I do stuff in a notebook. So it's
and obviously within context. I mean, if you are a call center worker and that is part of your job to have that phone line open and manned a certain amount of hours, that monitoring does actually tie into performance, but it's very different, I think, for a lot of knowledge workers. You don't want to be using those statistics and that kind of tracking. On the other hand, you know, I look at the statistics every now and again as well. And, you know, it's like, oh, I attended 97% of my meetings on time. I kind of like, yeah, damn it.
I just love those emails from Microsoft telling you how your productivity and collaboration time.
I know, they were always so high. It's like, it really fed into my gold sticker mentality, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting stickers for doing well. Whereas it's ridiculous. It just means that I opened most of my calls on time, which is like big whoop. I mean, That's
You can
basic
click a button.
politeness.
You can clock watch and click a button at the right time. Well done.
Well done. I still felt good, Shay. Stop. Don't take it away.
Yeah, sorry, I'd forgotten about your love of filling in the sticker books.
It's my love language. I
Yeah.
will not apologize for it. I will try to overcome it, but I still like it. All right, I think we're going to start rounding off here. Let's do a quick round and say, well, this is the one thing I really will never give up. And this is the one thing I think we can still jettison. Let's start with you, Chris.
I want to get rid of meetings that are wasting my time. I want more collaboration time, actual legit collaboration time. I don't want to sit in calls where nobody's really doing any work apart from one person saying, let's look at this thing. Like, for snapshot, we've got something that we've shared and nobody's looked at it in advance. And so we've spent the whole time people looking first time at something. Sessions like that, whether we're in person or whether we're, in the office and all those sorts of good things. Can we just be prepared for meetings if we're going to attend them? Because honestly, I think I'm going to lose my marbles a few too many times in my life if people only attend meetings and they're first viewers on the things. Be prepared for what you're attending. And if we're too burnt out, tell people that we haven't got time to be able to do all these things. Don't just say yes to everything. Say no. If it's too much, don't oversubscribe yourself because you're going to drop. Boom. But in terms of actually doing things well, I've got good relationships with folks that I pair with, and I don't just say, hey, and leave it on a chat. I'll say, have you got time at some point for where we can pair on this sort of thing? And if I need more context, do those sorts of things. Tell people what you want to talk to them about, and don't induce anxiety on people. If you know something's going to stress you out, don't do it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So think about when you're typing those little messages, make sure you're actually enough context presenting with all these things so that you're actually helpful. And that'd be really nice. I'm going to try and do more of that and less of the bad stuff where no one's prepared for a meeting and they're just telling up going, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So that's the part that you don't like. Was there a part that you want to keep in there? Is that the spontaneous
the keeping thing is, by all means, be spontaneous when you're communicating with folks, but present them the context for the spontaneity, not just, hey, have you got a minute for a call? Because that will give people some serious problems. So by all means, be spontaneous with people, but with the right context, manage expectations. Like, so if you can be planned choices, you can plan things, awesome, do it. But you don't need to put a whole hour in someone's calendar if you just need to have 10 minutes where you quickly put a pair on something and you do it through. Don't populate people's calendar for the sake of it. Just, we're available, let's do these things, this is what I want to talk about, this is what I want to do, and then get off camera and all those sorts of things when you don't need to.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then give people their time back, obviously, Shay.
Oh, nice bridge.
Oh. Where is it? Oh, damn it. I can't find my time god sticker.
All right, Shay, go for it. What would you keep? What would you jettison?
You didn't even have it ready today. There we go.
Oh, time god.
Oh, mate. So what would I keep? One of the more wonderful things I think has happened, and we've got it at EasyJet, is the ability to hire from further afield without those people having to worry, I can't take that job. I'm able to hire the best people, even though they're, say, in Scotland or even overseas or something like that, because we can work around the whole sort of, we can work remotely. We can work around the being in person thing and do it only once a quarter or once a year or something like that. I think has to continue, because that has been amazing. Some of the companies I've worked for, and those of you who know me, I've worked for a lot of companies in the last 2 years, more than I'd have liked to, have had amazing teams that they've built up from all over the Europe, and that's great.
It is. It's a big plus.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I think that does need to change, I think, the horrible one is the attitude from many higher ups that still think that you're gaming the system. And they, they look you in the eye and they go, no, we're happy with this 1 day a week at the, and we're really happy that you
They're not.
And it's just like, guys, get with it. I think companies that have embraced it and have then also sort of studied into what the mental health aspects are, both good and bad, and then trying to sort of alleviate the bad and enhance the good are the ones that are going to win. They have an infinite mindset, which is the way it should be. They see the future is this, and they are continuing it. And hopefully, the more people who have that, like, looking down on you kind of aspect, go and retire and fuck off somewhere, and then we can just get on with our lives and actually make working a good thing to do.
All right, thanks. Hannah, I'm interested what you're gonna jettison and what are you gonna keep?
I mean, one thing that I really don't like is the thing that got here right after COVID, where it's like enforcing people to be a certain amount of time at the office. For me, it doesn't make any sense if I'm going to have 6 hours of online meetings to go to an office. So don't force me to do so, because it pisses me off.
Yeah. Sit down at your hot desk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, thank you. I'm just going to be in the mood for being there. But like keeping, I think it's been nice with COVID and like working from home, like was mentioned earlier, like the testers hangout and like getting to the virtual coffees and things like this, like getting to talking to people in the industry that's not near you. And it got to be such a big thing. I must say I miss that now that I'm on maternity leave. I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, fair enough.
We need more virtual coffees. Yeah.
Yes, more.
Well, they are another way to connect really nicely with a lot of people that in a very friendly way can help and support and add a bit of that friendliness. That was the vibe I was going for with the Friday afternoons at the consultancy firm. So yeah, that's the one thing I would really love to bring back, just when we have office side events that we both pay a lot of money to cater and to get people in and to enjoy each other's company, that more people make time for those, because I really miss my friends. The thing I'd absolutely jettison is the really still very bad UX that is surrounded in our hardware and our tech when we do hybrid meetings. Like, it is just very annoying that if, for instance, I'm the one that called in with my little Jabra speaker, that then if somebody else speaks, it doesn't say, oh, now Shay is speaking, and it still just broadcasts that it's me. It's also the not being able to select indeed the speaker, the mic, and everything separately. Like, please make it like really, we're very dumb, especially when we're in a hurry. When we join that call, reconfirm with us, is this how you want to enter the meeting? I know it's the extra 10 seconds, but it does really help me not mute everybody on the freaking call. We're in all hands. All right, I think that rounds us off nicely. If anyone wants to get in touch, how can they reach you? Let's start with Hannah.
Yeah, you can reach me mainly on LinkedIn or pretty much any different Slack space. I'm probably on there. So that's the best way to reach me.
Lovely. Chris, how can they find you?
I'm available at Christofskia still on Twitter somehow, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and Mastodon, and the Tester Hangout Discord.
Nice. A lot of options there. Shay, how can they find you?
Yeah, well, I'm at Shaymouse on pretty much all the same. I'm on Instagram and X or Twitter, and Blue Sky. I'm not on Mastodon yet, but hey, one day, you never know. LinkedIn, everywhere. Come and chat. We love to chat. Testers Hangout. Get onto the Testers Hangout. Come and play. It's a really good space.
Nice space. Yeah. All right, and at 9 of 10 Testers now has, I think it does have a Blue Sky account since last episode. It is a win for us. It's, I think, still very much a sleepy account, but
we have
we'll
54 followers.
Nice.
Thank you,
well
you
done.
54.
We are at 9 out of 10 testers on LinkedIn and on the Tester Hangout channel. We're a sub-channel there, and you can now find us on Blue Sky indeed. So our next session is going to be in October, and I am flooding the dates. Let me see if I can look it up quickly. Yeah, I think we're going to be on the 11th of October. So look forward to that. We're going to bring you lots of new materials. We still need to decide the topic. So if you want to chat at us about suggestions, what you'd like us to cover, we're very much open to it. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
we'll
you.
do our usual song and dance again. Shay,
Yay!
are we off yet?
Are we off yet? Oh, hang on. I was too busy waving my hands. Hang on. Oh, how do I stop it? Where do I
Bye,
end this?
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And then awkwardly sit there as Shay finds the button until we're finally actually